Okay. Let's see. We're live. Let me do my, guess it's like a 10-second intro right quick. What up, everybody? How y'all doing today? This is Anthony, the host of the About That Water podcast show, where we help you build strong financial habits. I have the awesome guest to bring on today, which is going to help you deal with the 7 days of awesomeness. Okay, we're going to help break the cycle of having financial debt with David Delisle. How you doing today, David?
So good. So excited to be here, Anthony. And yeah, this is a great time to start. Beginning of the new year. Let's do it.
Yeah, and it's been quite some time since FinCon. I think that was the last time we actually got a chance to hang out and party up. So, what have you been doing since then?
Yeah, it feels like it's been so long ago. I think it's only been a few months, Anthony, but it does feel like it's been almost a year. I mean, obviously the holidays things get really busy, and then yeah, right now I'm working on sort of launching this challenge moving to the new year. I've got a TEDx coming up in April, and a few other exciting things. So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good year.
Man, TEDx, that is amazing. So, like, is this going to be like a local tech TEDx, or is this kind of like because I know some of the TEDx are regional. So, which one is it you're going to be at?
This one's actually going to be in Saskatchewan. So I'm in Canada, so it's not a local one, and it's a TEDx Youth, which is my perfect for the audience because I'm working with trying to teach kids financial literacy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So just talk to one of the collaborators that, or I guess not collaborators, they're basically your mentors going through the TEDx. Just had a call just before this one with him to sort of come up and with the speech and nail it. And this one's going to be fun because the topic's actually why we shouldn't teach our kids to save. So I
Hmm.
I'm sure that's going to throw you off
Hmm.
a little in your audience,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
don't
yeah.
worry,
Well,
there's a
give
reason.
us a little bit. Like, why shouldn't we, you know, teach them to save? Like, what's
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I love these things that we just assume are just it's an obvious yes. Teach your kids to save, and we don't even think to question it. And for
right?
me, you know me, I'm curious. I'm questioning. I'm looking at different angles, and this is a great example where usually when we teach our kids to save, we're doing the exact opposite. So if I think of like myself, like I was when I was young, I remember I really wanted a TV. So my parents were like,
Mm,
you know what? If you can pay for half, we'll pay for the other half. Save up. It'll take you some time. And so I remember saving, 6 months, which at that time as a little kid, I mean that's a whole school year. It feels like forever.
right.
And and so I saved, which is great. Like that's what we teach our kids to do. But you know what? The first thing I did once I had that TV,
What you do?
I'm sure I, I'm sure you could guess. So as soon as I had the TV, I was like, you know what I need next? I need to get a VCR.
You need a VCR. For those of you who are young enough to not know what a
Yes.
VCR is,
Way before
so
DVDs. I was a
yes,
young David.
yeah, I got actually a couple of them over there. But yeah, it's a nice, lovely cassette tape that. Well, I think it was better cassette tape, but anyway, yeah. So you had to get one of those,
So I
and
had to get one of
then
those,
yeah.
and then once I got that, it was the next thing. And that's the thing is when we're teaching our kids to save, we're not really completing the whole lesson. We're saying save, but we're telling them save so you can buy this thing.
Hmm.
And so what we're really teaching them is endless consumerism. Like once you get the next thing, think of the next thing you're going to buy, and that goes right
Right.
into adulthood. And we never stop. Like the saving is always for something, and that something is something you don't have yet, and it's something you really want. So we're teaching this lack. We're teaching desire and envy and jealousy and all these things, and just constant pursuit. And it's just a simple lesson, and it's actually teaching the exact opposite. And the reason this struck me so much is when I was writing the children's book, almost every parent I talked to, the first thing they said is, "That's great. My kids, they have such a bad time at saving. I need to teach them how to save. If this can help them, that's great." And I was realizing if this is what everyone's teaching, then why is saving such a problem? Why is debt
Mm,
such a problem? Something's broken because we're all teaching this, but it's not working. And why isn't it working? And I think that's exactly why it's not working is we're actually not teaching to save. Like as money nerds, we see money a little differently. So we might be
Yeah.
saving to create a nest egg, get our money working for us, have that sitting in a bank and never touching it, or investments and never touching it.
Right.
But that's not the lesson most parents are teaching their kids. They're teaching save to buy something. And once you buy that something, repeat the cycle all over again. So,
Because it does give you to think about when it comes to helping structure somebody as, you have your clients and so forth, is that when they come to you, they like, okay, well, I want to save, I want to do this. And they put their money in 50 million different places because they heard of so many different avenues of like high yield savings. And then they put it into an IRA and then they put it into their 401k. And then they got a SEP because they started to own a business. They have their money in so many different places. And then they come to you like, help me. I don't know what to do. And it's ultimately always come down to, well, what do you really want to do with your money? And so saving it to buy something is that next step. How do we change that habit or that mindset around, consumerism at the bigger um, at the bigger level?
well, I think, I mean, you made a really good point there when you talked about where to put this money because you make the distinction between saving and investing, and you almost see it as the same thing. I almost
Right.
see it like I think of it as the same thing as well. Most people don't. Saving and investing are two different things. People are saving to buy stuff. They're not saving, they're not investing.
Right.
And there's a very big distinction there. And I think that's the thing when we're talking with our young kids, we're not teaching about investing. We're teaching
Hmm.
saving to buy things. And I think that's the danger in these lessons because we're not given the whole lesson. So with the TEDx and this talk and what I'm trying to get people to understand is just that awareness of what they really what's really important to them. Like we've talked about this before about the awesome stuff of,
Yep. Yeah.
what really lights you up and what's important to you. And I think that's really the core message that helps break all this apart because then instead of thinking about the next thing you can buy and constantly chasing, the focus is more inwards on like what really lights you up, where's where's the thing that brings you the most joy or happiness and what's important to you. And now all of a sudden, as soon as you turn inwards and think about what's important to you, you're no longer thinking of all the things you want. You're thinking of all the things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
And it changes that conversation. So it sounds simple, but if we take it back to the kids, a perfect example would be, I think of like an ice cream example. So a kid's wanting an ice cream and they're having that temper tantrum, they're asking the parent for the ice cream. And usually if the parent doesn't want to get the ice cream, they'll tell the kids, sorry, we can't afford that.
Yep.
And so that's teaching them a lesson. It comes like all of a sudden they hear that and they think I'm not either worthy of it or our family doesn't have money or my friends have it. Why don't I? Like it's teaching this lesson of lack and we can't afford it. Whereas this whole idea around the awesome stuff, if we change the conversation to asking the kid, is this your awesome stuff? And forcing them to just pause and reflect, like, is this what I really want? Or do I love stuffed animals? Or is it that bike that I've been talking about that I really want? Or do I just want to go swimming with my friends? And being able to pause and think that through completely will change that conversation and break that cycle of endlessly chasing more. Because as it is, kids just see the ice cream and they're like, well, if my parents get it for me, I can get it. So they just want
Yeah.
everything they see.
Right.
How do I get everything I see? But as
Right.
soon as we put it back on them and give them that autonomy, is this what you really want? Is this what really makes you happy and brings you joy? That really starts breaking this cycle.
Yeah, because Kamari brought up something. He's in the chat right now. It's the finance rebel. I know he gets me every time I mess up his thing. So Kamari says it's not working because we are bombarded with ads. So what do you think about the ad space that we actually get?
Oh, I mean, that's the reason this is so important right now because not only are we bombarded by ads, it's getting worse. So this is a problem that's getting worse and not going away. And so that exactly comes back to this focusing on what really is important to you. Because when I talk kids through this, it's not don't buy the car, don't get the ice cream, don't do the bike, save your money. It's what's important to you as an individual. So you're forced to sit on it. So then they start thinking about like what are the things that I really love? And I know all my friends like Pokemon cards.
Right.
I don't. Or I know we should be doing this. Like what brings me joy? And it's going to be different for everyone. So once they understand that and we take away all the judgment we usually have with money, then they can start figuring out what's important to them without the ads. Because right now that's what's happening is we see the ads and it happens as adults. We see it and we're like, I should be on a yacht drinking champagne. Like
Right.
everyone doing that looks like they're having a lot of fun. But that's not really my awesome stuff. And for most people, it isn't. It might look fun in the ad or the story that's being sold, but it just isn't. And once you start realizing, you know what? No, I just want to like cozy up on the couch with my loved one and watch a movie, or I want to, go on a vacation with my kids. Those ads start having less and less power, and that's the whole thing. Is I'm trying to figure out how do we just be a little bit more mindful, and that's really all it comes down to is that money mindfulness, pausing and asking what's important to me, not what I'm sold, not what everyone tells me I should buy, not what everyone's doing around me.
Yeah, let's take a question from the comments here. And Rayma, thank you for watching. Let me see if we get some air horns in here. For everybody who love these air horns, we got you. Okay, right. We gonna get you some air horns.
This is bringing me
Uh,
right back to FinCon.
right. So Rayma says, I encourage my 13-year-old to tithe 10%, save 50%, and she can spend the rest. We've talked about retirement savings, and I mean, we talk about retirement savings, but her eyes glaze over. So, how do you start to get the kids to start thinking about not saving, but more so on the investment side for their future selves?
So really, I mean, at that age, it's tough because kids are kids and they don't want to, they don't understand what investments are or savings and the rest of it. But what I try to tell, like my boys, for example, is we're just setting up the habits so you don't have to think about it. So if they understand by just doing this is just something you do. This is a habit. The same thing as, when we're finished eating, you get up off the table, you take your dishes and you put them in the dishwasher or wash them. It just becomes a habit. And if they understand this is a habit we're building, so you don't have to worry about money, that's the conversation. And we just encourage them to do it as a habit. Like this is what we do. And I do the same. And, you know, this is how we manage our money so that we can do all the things we love. And really, I think that's the thing is for me, and I've noticed this with my young boys, if I talk too much about money, they start getting worried. They're thinking about money, they get
Right.
stressed about money. That's the exact opposite of what I want to teach them. Like I want them to not worry about money. Like this whole thing, like financial independence, investing, being financially literate, to me is letting money stop having control over your thoughts and to fade into the background. So if they understand that and just be like, hey, let's this money we can spend on whatever you want and this is what you have and the rest we're saving, and the reason we're saving is because that habit you can then go to school, buy the house, do all the things when you get older, and money won't be something that's going to stress you out.
Yeah. Building the habits is one of the things, but with the kids, how do you make it stick? I gotta come with the tough
Yeah,
questions. Right.
yeah. Well, but that's the thing. It's repetition. I mean,
Mhm.
stick. It's not going to stick. It's the same as any habit. It's repetition. So the great one is like the tithing 10%. Once you get in the habit of that, you don't even think about it. It's just a thing you do. Oh, okay, I got $1. I'm gonna take 10 cents and I'm gonna put it away. I got $10. I'm gonna put $1 and put it away. And then they start seeing how that happens. It's really just repeating and it like over and over again. And that's why when I think about financial literacy for kids and with my book as well, I try to talk about it in a way where it becomes integrated in the day to day. So it's not this big
I
money
got you.
conversation like, oh, I love that. Exactly. But yeah, like if you tell your kids, hey, tonight we're going to sit down and talk about saving, it, they're going to run for the hills. Like no, no adults don't want to have that conversation.
Right.
So that's going to be really difficult. But if every time they get, money for a birthday or something, you're like, oh, okay, and let's take, just like with candy or anything else, like, okay, we're going to take this and put it to the side. And they just get used to that happening every time. And it's not a big conversation. I mean, that's how it starts to become this this habit in a way that it becomes a part of your life and not something that becomes a big deal. And that's the problem is we leave it till kids are off in their 20s, getting their first job and out of the house to learn these things, and by then it's too late. I mean, teach those habits when they're young and it just becomes second nature.
Yeah. Well, I think we can take a moment right now to let's do not do a giveaway, but we want to introduce the giveaway because I want to give away your book at the end of the day. Start the year off right. That's going to be my first giveaway of 2024. We're going to give away the Golden Quest by David Delisle. I mean, your journey to rich life. I mean, David, you can sell this book better than I can. But as for the hashtag, for the people who are watching on YouTube right now, sorry, Instagram folks, you got to come on over to YouTube or Facebook or something so that we can get into this entry. So I'm gonna do a random drawing. Um, what would be a good hashtag for this book that people can put in so we can go ahead on and lock in these results?
I mean, for me, I love the awesome stuff.
Awesome
Everything
stuff.
is just that's the reminder to like focus on what's important to you.
All right. So let's do hashtag the awesome stuff. For those of you who are watching right now on YouTube, go ahead on and type in hashtag the awesome stuff. I do not want to be part of this entry because I have the book. So while I'm setting this up, can you talk a little bit about your book? Because I know you mentioned it several times, but I just want to make sure everybody can get a little feel and a little background about the book.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got two young boys, and I love finance stuff. So I wanted to sort of pass on some of this knowledge to them. And what I realized is like you said, you just asked, how do you teach the kids this stuff? It's really hard because there's nothing out there that's really fun for kids. And I realized there isn't a graphic novel that teaches kids about money. There isn't a fun sort of adventure or cartoon. And that's why I wrote this book, is so that it becomes something that just anyone can pick up and read. I even have young kids who can't read and they just flip through the pictures. And it takes a little boy through a journey where he learns, the four golden rules of money. And the first one's only buy the awesome stuff that we just touched on. And really it's habits and mindset in this fun adventure for kids to learn about financial literacy and in a fun way. And I actually wrote it so that the kids can then teach their parents, because that's really what's happening here. Is that's all the content in the book is these habits that we as parents and adults should learn as well. So the kids can learn it and then they can teach us.
Awesome. Just like the awesome stuff. I want to make sure I spelled this right, man. It's the awesome. I know I spelled it right.
Well, that's right.
Because I
That's
only got one entry, but let me see if I can share my screen because I want to make sure that people get into this. But I only got one entry though. That's really odd. So I'm not sure if you guys can try again because I'm seeing some misspelling. So we only got one entry right now. So somebody misspelled it.
sometimes people drop one of the E's. So
The
AWSOM
awesome.
sometimes. It's a
A,
common misspelling.
okay.
Which is why, I mean, if you try to type
Right.
in theawesomestuff.com,
I see what happened.
you're gonna find me.
My mom actually put a space after the hashtag.
Oh, it's
It's
okay.
okay. Right. So go ahead on and type in the awesome stuff. Go ahead on over if you guys are watching on Instagram and want to be inside this entry to get the book, The Golden Quest by David Delisle. Make sure you go ahead on over to YouTube and do hashtag the awesome stuff, no spaces. I see you. I see you guys on. You can retype it in, but remember it's only one entry. So make sure you spell it the right way. If you think you misspelled it, type it again. So there we go. We got two entries. All right. And I see PM Dong on Instagram. Sorry, I can't take you. It doesn't register on the wheel. So unfortunately, I cannot do both. So, but you're here. It's okay. But If you can, just go ahead on and follow David, and then we can go ahead on and make sure we um, get you in there. At least get a book. It's okay if you don't win the drawing. It's all right. So, um, so thank you for talking about the book. We got that out the way. We got the TED Talk coming up. Now let's talk about this 7 days of awesome. What in the world is 7 days of awesome?
Well, it's what we just talked about, this awesome stuff challenge that I want to basically set up, especially going into the new year, because you were asking, like, how do we get this happening? It's building that habit. So all you need is 7 days to start that habit and the get into the new year with this whole new mindset. And so for 7 days, every time you're thinking of buying something, if you just pause and ask, is this the awesome stuff?
Mm.
That's it. And it sounds really simple, but there's so much power in it, because that pause and reflection, you'll start realizing what's really important to you. And with that, like the awesome stuff, sometimes people they get confused about, like, what is the awesome stuff? How do I figure it out? They add too much pressure on themselves. Really, it's those things that, like, you can feel in your body. Like when you start talking to someone and you get excited and you can feel it and you're lit up. Kids are great at this because we usually know what their awesome stuff is because they can't contain it. Adults, it gets a little trickier. But if you start thinking about like your favorite memory or your favorite thing, I mean, if I think of clothes as an example, I mean, we all have that favorite pair of shoes, that favorite shirt. We know what it is. And so the next time you're going to buy something else, just think about, is it, am I going to love this as much as I love that favorite pair of shoes or my favorite sweater? And if you're like, it's on sale, I sort of like it, I don't really love it, then just don't buy it. I mean, that's it. It's just that pause and reflection. And in doing that, you'll start realizing more and more how many things we buy out of habit, or because
Mm.
someone told us we should buy it, or we think other people would like it. And the better you get at realizing what's really important to you, the better your financial habits are going to be and your spending habits.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about like most of the time when you come across like a something you see in the store, because like there are things that I want to get, like I'm not sure because I'm looking for more gadget stuff for the podcast, and I just like spending money on it. But also, I got books, and I love getting books. And one of the things that I do, I notice like if there's a new author, I'll go ahead on and just hold the book in my cart. And then I'm just like, all right, do I really want this book, or do I have other books I could be reading until I get ready for that book and then ship it, or do I get it now? And it makes me feel awesome to have and support the author. But then it's like, hmm, can they hold off for a little bit till I get ready to get the book and everything? And for this case, I actually do enjoy having that ability to to put things off to the side. Which brings to the question that I've been asking pretty much all day is when you have money, what does money actually allow you to do?
So, I mean, for me, I always see money as freedom.
Mm.
Freedom, and it doesn't have to mean freedom to do nothing. Like it's actually the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's freedom to do the things you love. And again, that's why I talk about this awesome stuff, because even if you had unlimited money, what you don't have is unlimited time.
Mm.
So, like, if you take everything just further and further along, like if I stuck with clothes, instead of having one sweater, say you had 100 sweaters or 1,000 sweaters, there's no way you can enjoy all those. More isn't more. And that's what we forget to realize. We start thinking that we want all these things. So even the gadgets, if you're going to use them and they're going to help and they're there and you get excited all the time, that's great. But for most of us, and I'm guilty of this as well, I get these gadgets and I never use them. And they
Mm.
just sit there. Or I use them once and they just sit there. And they just take up space. So they take up head space. I had to go spend time to buy the thing. Now it's taking up space in my house. I never use it. It's not bringing me any joy. Having that thing is not making me happier. So back to the books. I mean, that's a good example as well, because I love books and reading. But I just heard this term recently. What do they call it? Like a book dragon.
Oh.
or something like that. And so
Okay.
basically, instead of like being like a book lover and reading books,
Yeah.
you hoard the books. So you have a
Mm,
whole bunch of books, but you never read the books. And I
gotcha.
can look on my bookshelf and point out, I've read most of the books, but there's a good bunch there that they just sit and I haven't read them. And so those are things that I could have done without. And that's again, so with this pause and reflection in the 7-day challenge, you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter because we're not trying to get it right.
Mm,
But the more we do this, you start reflecting like, you know what, the last 5 books I got, I haven't even read.
yeah.
And so you start just evolving and realizing maybe I don't need more books. Maybe I need to just read the ones I have. Or maybe I just have to go to a book library or share some of the books I have with friends, and they give me a book, and I get them a book. And is there other ways I can support these authors? Maybe I leave a book review for them because I read their book. I mean,
That's
that's
a good one. Yeah.
extremely helpful for an author.
And especially since I buy most of the like authors that I've met in person, and I buy all their books, and then I usually give them away anyway. Everybody likes to spend my money, so it's great. So Rayma says, "Why you telling my business? Hey, we're gonna tell all your business, okay? Every little bit of it." So because I think that's one of the things. Just coming out of the holidays, we have a lot of stuff, and how do we? It's like you said, what are the awesome things that we actually asked for, and what are the things that really is going to take us to the next trajectory? Shinobu actually joined. What? Thank you, Shinobu, for coming through on the IG. Um, so one of the things is that having the awesome stuff out of the Christmas holidays, how do we actually get rid of the things that we don't actually feel that is awesome, but also it was a gift? And we don't want to let that person know we just kind of gave it away or re-gift it to somebody else or gave it to somebody else that actually would enjoy it. What do you do on that?
I mean, that's what's so tricky. Like the holidays. I mean, I struggle with the holidays because you know me.
Yeah.
I'm a minimalist. Minimalist.
Hmm.
I don't love the gifts. I like focusing on the awesome stuff. So it gets tricky. And I've got 2 young boys, so they want a tree full of gifts. I mean, they're little
Mm,
kids. But it was interesting. So this year, this is a bit of an aside, but just because we're talking gifts,
yeah.
I talked to them and I told both my boys, like, look, I know the stuff you like. There's nothing you really want because I've already asked you. So I can fill this tree with things that are okay. And I even gave them some ideas. Like, I'm thinking this and this. Nothing you'll love, but you'll like the stuff. Or instead of spending all this money on things that we don't really love anyway, because they
Hmm.
know all about the awesome stuff, I said, what if I throw you guys a holiday party, your very own holiday party, individual parties?
That's interesting. Okay. How they
And
take it?
they loved it because they were able to invite all their friends.
Hmm.
And the only time, like my youngest guy, the only parties he's ever had are birthday parties. So like to be able to have an actual, feel like a bit of an adult. He's in grade 6 now, beginning of middle school. He can invite boys and girls, order all the food they want. We went to the store and picked out all the candy and treats. He set it up, sent out his own invite list, and had his own party. And for
Okay.
him, like the memory of that and having his friends around and doing that, that actually, that was one of his better memories of the year, when we sort of reflected on the past years. So there's ways to get around gifts. So back to the gift giving. I mean, it's hard when someone gives you a gift you don't love. I mean, there's not really any real way around that. But by having these conversations, you can start talking to people about, hey, you know what? Next year, instead of doing gifts, I just want to spend time with you. So why don't
Mm,
we, you know, I'll pick a restaurant and you pick a restaurant, and I'll take you out one night and you take me, or a coffee, or let's go do something else. Like I know for my family, so for my mom, and this is going to be interesting because my mom's a little older. My boys, I mean,
mm.
they're 2 boys. So for their gift this year, again, because I didn't want more things that nobody really wanted, and we've booked it, we haven't gone yet, is we're going to go axe throwing as a family.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool.
Yeah, and just start having those conversations because typically it would be like we'd buy them something, a spa
Hmm.
certificate or some clothes or a sweater or a scarf, but that's not really what they want. Is they want to spend time with their grandchildren. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is a way to do that. So you just having those conversations, it can clear things up. So don't say you don't love the gift.
Right.
Just say, hey, maybe next year I want to spend more. I love you more, and I want to spend time with you. How
Yeah.
do we spend more time together instead of going to the mall and buying stuff?
Right. I mean, I have to try that. because you see so many things online, and everybody say like, oh, this child was degenerate and not grateful for the gift, and it's like, no, as a parent, if you actually listen to what they wanted, you wouldn't have these problems. Like, I think one of them is very famous, is the child wanted a PS5, but he wound up getting an Xbox, and it's like, well, I didn't ask for that. Like, you know, how do you deal with the emotions? That's one thing we didn't touch on. The emotional side of the awesome stuff. I know you said it makes you feel good, but how does that actually translate to others? Because yes, you and I, like, yes, you taught your child how to be awesome and feel great about themselves. But what about others, and how does that actually breed? Yeah, how does it gives breath and breathe to the next person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, a big one is like we were talking about social media. So a big thing about social media is jealousy,
Mm,
jealousy and envy, because it's all about showing something that you don't have, and look how happy these people are. And so once you realize what you really love, the other stuff doesn't matter as much. So when your friend shows you their brand new watch or their card or their thing, you could just be genuinely happy for them because it's not something that's not your awesome stuff.
yeah.
So instead of thinking, oh, it must be nice, I wish I could buy that, I wish I could have that thing, you're like, no, like I have my party with my friends. That's what I wanted. I didn't
Yeah.
want the PS5. And so it really starts shaping those relationships because now you're not trying to one up everybody or get jealous when they show you things. You're just generally happy and spend time. But then that will translate as well because when they ask, well, what did you get? And you tell them, like, if you start talking about, well, this is what I love and this is what is important to me and these are the experiences I like to have, and you can start shaping that. I know for like my young boys, especially the youngest one, most of the birthday parties he goes to, he gets experiences for his friends as
Mm,
gifts because that's what he loves. So he takes them out for dinner or swimming or bike rides and ice cream, whatever it might be, depending
mhm.
on that relationship and that friend and what that friend likes, and that's the gift. And so it does start to change things because otherwise, I mean, most of these you don't know what people have or
Right.
what they want or what's going on, and so that really does change a lot of that relationship because the way we have it set up now, and that's what I talked about, like the saving, why we don't want to teach saving, is it usually starts teaching these feelings of lack,
Mm,
envy, jealousy, or low self-esteem and self-worth and all these other things because it's all based on comparison. But as
right.
soon as you eliminate that and really focus on what's important to you, now it's gratitude because you know what you love and you have the things you love because it's all your the only thing you're going after are the things you love. So you have that gratitude. You look at the world a little bit different. You're not chasing. And so it definitely has a big impact. So that I know this 7 day challenge sounds small, but it really does have a big impact. And like a story I love, I recently was talking to someone and their kids, they really wanted a new puppy, which I mean, that's a common thing for kids.
Yeah.
And again, and all these things, I'm not saying don't get the puppy because I don't. That's not my that's not my decision to make. I don't know how much you want the puppy, but what happened is the dad in that case mentioned the kids. Well, for me, my awesome stuff, I want to send mom back to school. She really wants to go back to school. This is something she's wanted to do for a long time. It's expensive, but that's where I want to spend. Like that's where I want to spend my money. That's really important to me. And
Yeah.
for the kids, they're like, we want to send mom to school. Let's do that instead. And all of a sudden, it shifted from puppy to sending mom to school.
Mm,
And oh man, it sounds small, but like that's so powerful because the end result's the same. There is no puppy in that house. But previously, the kids were thinking like all their friends that had a dog and they're jealous of. And if they could just bug their parents enough, they'll get the dog. And this really sucks to look what we've been able to do. They have like empowerment and autonomy and they made this decision. They're all excited and they have that gratitude and they don't feel lack. And it shifted everything, even though the result's the same. And that's the
mm.
thing. If the dad said, we can't afford the puppy, and that's all he said, then the kids would just they'd still feel all those negative emotions. So really this pausing and reflecting and thinking about what's really your awesome stuff, it will have a big impact.
Yeah. Because I know that you recently had like a huge shift in the family dynamics recently. And, finding that awesome stuff again in yourself to then give to your kids. Do you actually block yourself out from your awesome stuff just to make sure that the kids are happy, or do you focus on self?
Um, what I try to do is have conversations with the kids,
Mm.
and that's a big one. So then they understand. Like if they understand what my awesome stuff is, we can either get on board together or not. Like I want them to know, like if their happiness is more important to me,
Hmm.
then I want them to know that. And so if it's something that I'm like, hey, I'm going to make sacrifices for your school because to me, your education is really important to me. So
Right.
these are the sacrifices I'm willing to make. And again, I do preface them with them almost all the time because it's tricky. I'm like, I'm not saying this to guilt you. I don't want you to feel bad. I just want you to understand, like, this is how much this costs, or this is what's important, or this is what I want to do. And then you can start making more decisions as a family as well. So this year, like I said, we did the parties
Hmm.
for the kids, and then we did a gift for the house. Like we ended up
Oh,
getting
nice.
like a saltwater aquarium because we've
Okay.
all wanted this saltwater aquarium for a long time. It's a lot of work, so the boys are like on board of like we're gonna help, we're gonna do this, we're gonna look at it, and that was it. Like there was no from me as their dad. That was their presents. There were no other presents,
Yeah.
and and they loved it because this is like we chose a present we all wanted, and they had their present that they had with their friends, and yeah, that is my awesome stuff. Like I let them know like these things are important to me, or for me travel is really important, and so I'll tell them how the decisions I make so that travel can happen for me. I'm not going and spending $1,000 a night in a hotel
Right.
and going for a 7-day vacation. That's not the way I like to travel. So I do
Mm.
it differently, and I talk to them about how I do it and why, because that's my awesome stuff.
Yeah. Um, the reason why I always think I think it's very common to hear that the parents would do this for the kids, but the kids never asked for the parent to do that. The parent, like the kids, all they ask is for the parent to actually, spend time with them more than anything. And they don't ask like, "Hey, go ahead on and make extra money for this. Go ahead on," because they haven't. If you never had that conversation, they would never have that concept of, okay, well, dad's going out to work for all this time, because the child's currency is your time as a parent. And then you feel as though, oh yeah, I'm doing this for my kid, or is that like an escape, you know, thing that a lot of parents would like to say just because, oh yeah, I'm staying late for this. And it's not knowing that it's not their awesome stuff. And I think that if we can change the language of parents, even though I'm not a parent myself, but it just you hear this all the time, and it's like, well, did you ever sat down with your child and ask them like, do they really want you to go to work all the time? No. Do they really want you to go head out and make sure that they can have a car, or all these things, or where they were just talking out the side of their mouths at that point? It was like, oh yeah, that looks nice, and you took it as a parent to say like, oh yeah, I really want to make sure that they have this. And I think that is a miscommunication that happens, that causes a lot of parents to feel burnt out or feel like they're useless, and go back to like how you were saying before, their confidence is low again because they thinking that they're doing something for their child, but the child never asked for it.
Hmm.
So
Well, and that's a good reflection. Like that's that pause and reflection that I think a lot of people don't necessarily have because they'll say like I like my awesome stuff is spending more time with my kids.
mhm.
And then you look at their habits and their spending habits exactly as you're saying and what they're doing and you're like, but that's not the choices you're
Right.
making.
True.
So if you pause and reflect, like, so what is really important? Is it spending time with your kids, or is it buying all these things?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which one it is. I mean, maybe it is buying those things, and you
Mhm.
might think like doing these things that is more important to me for whatever reason. I'm not saying don't do that, but just be aware of the choices you're making
Yeah.
because most of the time we don't realize. We'll talk to people and you know what my awesome stuff is to just not have to work at this job that I hate, and then they're doing everything they can to spend all the money they have so
Right.
that they're forced to work at this job that they hate forever. So understanding those things, it'll start really changing that conversation, and then having those conversations with the kid, like, hey, that bike you really want is going to be really expensive, and I'm gonna have to work a little harder if that's what's going to happen. So I might have to, work on a weekend.
Right.
Is that what you want? And you can have those conversations with the kids. I mean, kids are pretty grown up, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, you know what, Dad, I'll miss you this Saturday, but
Right. Right. Like, understand you're the reason why I got to work this weekend. So, right.
yeah, but they're going to appreciate it. Like you said, like they're going to then appreciate it. If that's the
Right.
decision you make, now they'll
Mhm.
appreciate it. But when you just assume this is what they want and I'm going to make this sacrifice, and they're sitting at home wondering, like, why can't I just, go play catch with my dad?
Right.
That's not the memory you want them to have. So if you have that conversation, you can start making better decisions. And that's exactly the thing. There isn't a right or wrong answer,
Hmm.
but pausing and really reflecting on the choices you're making, that will get you to a better place.
Yeah. Again, everybody, this is the author of The Golden Quest. I mean, you got to make sure that you get yourself a copy of this on Amazon. Just go ahead on and search The Golden Quest, and you can actually just type in the author's name, which is David Delisle, because you want to make sure that you get a copy of this for you and your child. Even though it's a well illustrated book, I enjoyed the stories in this. I think I've had this. Yeah, I actually had a copy since FinCon. So I actually do enjoy to read, and I've been admiring your work ever since then. So, um, as we come up to like the last 15 minutes of the show, just remind everybody about your TED Talk. Um, where is it going to be located? So if people are in that region, they can go out and try to get a ticket to listen to your talk.
Yeah, so it's in Saskatchewan, Canada, which is
Okay.
crazy. It's a small little place. And so it's going to be in April. And I'll start sharing more stuff too. So if people want to follow me and learn about these things as it's coming up and all the dates are finalized, they can follow me at theawesomestuff.com or Instagram, TikTok at theawesomestuff. And I'll be doing those talks. I'm hoping to do some book tour stuff in February and some more sort of interviews like this and some stuff out of Seattle coming up soon, end of the month. So I'll be doing a lot of this stuff moving to the new year, because for me, this money mindfulness, this whole conversation we've just had,
Yeah.
I mean, we were just at FinCon. Usually when we're at a place like that or people are talking about money, it's all about how to have more.
Yes, it is.
And I love that conversation. I love money. I was I'm a money nerd, but we really need to start having more conversations that talk about like what we're just talking about right now, like this money mindfulness. Because for me, like that's really my mission, is to change the way we think about money. Because the current conversation with only talking about more means that we'll never sort of reach that point where we have enough. And that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to break that cycle. I don't want people to stop wanting more, but I'm trying to break the cycle where that's all you want, it's all you think about, and you never reach that. Like, there's no way to ever reach that goal. So that's really what I'm trying to change, and starting this year and getting out there and talking to more people about it is really, really important.
Awesome. Oh man. All right. So for those of you who got the entries in, it seems like we only got three. Interesting. So if you actually are watching and still here on, I believe, yep, PM Dong, I got you from Instagram. You came on over to YouTube, put your hashtag in and went back. Man, I love the hustle and the quickness that you put in here. This is great. Let's go ahead on and get some music to go ahead on and draw this thing. Give me a thumbs up inside the chat if y'all ready for this drawing so we can go on and get this going. All right. So we are here to the very first book of the About That Water podcast, where we're giving out some awesome stuff. All right. We only got three entries, but it's okay. We're going to get a lucky winner today. Who is the winner? And the winner is, hey, it's Rayma. Let me see if I can
Yay!
rotate my screen here so everybody can see. All right. Congrats, Rayma. You are the winner of the week. So, as always, just shoot me an email with the address that you want me to shoot the um, send you off the book. I'm not signing it or sharing it out. I order from Amazon. You look for that package to come at your door. So I want to just thank you all again coming on and actually making this interview such a great idea, because I think, David, this will help you if you haven't already formulated your speech yet, to kind of start thinking about some of those things to get ready for your TED talk.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. I really appreciate being on here. Always fun chatting. More fun in person. I mean,
Yeah.
we got to do that again soon. But
Yes, definitely.
I love these calls.
Awesome. All right. Well, David, hold on just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead on and do the outro, and then we get to close out. Cool. So, all right, let's play my outro music, and that's it.